shut the door.
Okay. Welcome everybody to this WIA webinar. I know that people will be joining or slowly starting to join, so I'll give us some time for people just to start joining the webinar. I can see the numbers going up slowly, which is good. I know that people will be joining us from across the globe, so whatever time zone you're in, welcome to today's webinar as part of WIA Talks. And please do send any messages in the chats as well. Let me know where you're joining from. It'll be nice to see some flags as well, to shout out where everyone is joining the call from.
I wonder if I can send a flag. Let me see. Darn it, I think I've got to talk on my laptop. I was getting excited. Hi,
so
Henya.
I'll give it a few more seconds.
Oh, that's
Hi.
a flag. Fabulous.
Okay.
Lisbon.
Wow.
Oh, Henya's gone back to Lisbon already.
I think so.
Oh, boo.
Okay, just give it a few more moments for more people to just join in. I can still see it, the numbers going up.
Hello, Cape Town.
Hiya.
Hi from Cape Town. Thank you for joining us. I know you're a few hours ahead from London, so thank you.
Oh,
and
wow.
Togo, Alexandrine, thank you for joining. Okay, so we've got quite a few people who have joined already, so I think it'll be nice for us to kick off. Hi, Alia.
Oh, hi, Alia.
Hi, Alia.
Okay, so for those who are new to what the Women in Africa initiative is about, it was founded 4 years ago, and it's a platform dedicated to the economic development and support of leading and high potential women. They usually achieve this with summits, labs, workshop, and they usually hold or host a summit in Marrakesh in Morocco in June. But unfortunately, due to COVID-19, it wasn't able to take place. So we've been holding these talks as well, just to connect people together during these times. So WIA also has about 8,000 women entrepreneurs across 54 African countries, and also they have ambassadors as well across the continent, across the African continent, and also in the diaspora. So today I've got two guests, two wonderful, fabulous women who will be taking part in our discussion. So the theme today, or the talk today, is stepping up and leading the new generation into breaking barriers. And I'll introduce Lynette Nabosa. She's the founder of Elimu, an economic empowerment platform which amplifies leaders in the community and gives them opportunities to give back to Black youth through mentoring and skill sharing. She is also a senior lecturer in business management and is studying for her doctorate of business administration. Hi, Lynette.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for being here.
And the next person is Dr. Grace Ologbodi. She is the creator of the multi-award-winning maths game called Race to Infinity, and is the author of Make Maths Fun, How to Increase Your Child's Grades and Confidence Through Games. And over 10,000 children have used her Race to Infinity maths game to make maths fun and reduce mathematical anxiety. Grace by trade is a Java software programmer and is an ex-investment banker and holds a first-class honours in BSc computing degree and an MSc in financial markets with information systems. She has also been awarded an honorary doctorate in recognition of her work in helping children fall in love with mathematics. Thank you so much both for joining us in this webinar, taking part in this webinar. So again, for those who have just joined us, because I've seen a few more have just joined the webinar, the title of this talk is Stepping Up and Leading a New Generation into Breaking Barriers. Now, both of you work in careers that give back to your communities. That's through education, mentoring, and guidance. What would you say that title means to you? What does it mean to step up and lead a new generation?
Grace, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can go first. Yeah, so stepping up in terms of, you know, the experience that I've had and what I've seen, I really believe that lots of opportunities are starting to come up now. I think there were pockets of opportunities before, which I believe that as Black women, we should be stepping up and taking. I've certainly seen situations where people have been asking me that, where are your people? Where are your Black people? Like, we're looking for a more, you know, I've been on platforms where they've been looking for a more sort of mixed platform where everyone's represented. And I believe that we Black women haven't really been stepping up as much as we should be, but the opportunities are out there, and they're going to be a lot more going forward. So I believe that it's a time to really step up and start, you know, putting forward for these opportunities, especially for our children. You know, they always say that when you teach a woman a skill, or when you support a woman for something, she's going to teach her children. So that's changing generations to come, and that's where my thoughts are coming from regarding stepping up and actually leading a new generation into breaking barriers.
Amazing. Stepping up for me, I perceive it as me needing to step up. So with LME, we're all about amplifying the leaders in our community. So we're always trying to do that, always trying to bring more visibility to the people who are doing amazing things in their fields. So stepping up, I think, also is using your capital, whether that's financial capital, whether that's human capital, to give more visibility to the people who are already doing amazing things in their fields and in their industry. So whether that's the allies, mentioning your name in a boardroom, or mentioning your name to people that they know have a bit of influence or a bit of power, or whether that's us just connecting a bit better, because I think there are a lot of us doing amazing things, and a lot of the times we just need to kind of see each other more. It might not be difficult, because especially in London, we can be quite dispersed. So just make an extra effort to go and find each other, because I don't think there's anything that Black people are not doing, but it's just difficult to find where they are doing those things. So just making extra effort to go out and find each other, and the allies making more effort to kind of support us in the sense of either with your wallet, like buying from Black businesses or buying from Black entrepreneurs, or simply just saying, I'm not going to buy, or I'm not going to be a client to a business where it's all white boards or all white male boards, or I'm not going to be a client to a business where I've known that they've kind of discriminated or not treated Black people equally. So I think there's different ways for different people to step up.
Lynette, you mentioned Black businesses and people maybe putting their money where their mouth is and investing or buying from Black-owned companies. We are seeing this shift right now because of the protests that have been taking place, that people are spending or choosing to spend with Black businesses, such as here in the UK, we had something called the Black Pound Day at the end of June, where everyone was encouraged for one day to search out Black businesses and spend with them. What do you think going forward can be done to keep that same momentum and to make it more sustainable?
At the moment, Black Pound Day is going to be like a once a month thing. But I think instead of waiting for that kind of, the next one is 1st of August. So instead of waiting for 1st of August, just being conscious of our spending, because we already see it happen with like climate change. So some people are a bit more conscious. If a company uses plastic, they might decide I'm not going to go with them. Or if a company is testing on animals, then they decide not to go with them. Do the same thing. If you know that there is a Black business that's providing quality goods, because it's not just about providing money to Black businesses, there's also kind of the need for Black businesses to provide quality services or quality products. But if you know that that exists, then it's about making the conscious decision to spend with them instead. So I think in terms of sustainability, it's about building the norm. So a couple of years ago, that whole I'm not going to spend with a company that uses plastic, that wasn't the norm. But now we see how you can use activism in that way, and it leads to normality. So it's just kind of making those steps and going out your way, because we don't have the visibility yet. So going out your way to seek those businesses, and eventually SEO will happen, so it will be more visible online. And when we're able to meet in person, then you'll be able to see more of it. We have the UK Black Business Show, we have Black Young Professional Networks, like you can find these things if you just seek them.
And you both run your own businesses. What advice can you share for one, like managing people, and two, getting your idea off the ground? So from the inception, the idea that you've had, what advice would you give to someone? Grace, do you want to answer?
Right. Yeah. So I think, you know, certainly the first step that I found that was very important was really believing in myself first. So the first thing is actually believing in yourself, and it doesn't sound like a big step, but it's actually it's almost everything, because that's what then gives you confidence to go out and share what you have, and knowing that you can do it. And I always say that, you know, sometimes as women or Black people or being the minorities, you know, we do feel a little bit of fear of, you know, who's going to listen to me and who told me I can create something. For example, when I created my game, Race Infinity game, I didn't know that it can get anywhere. I was just trying to help children fall in love with mathematics. And when I tested it at home and then in a few schools, and I saw that people started to like it, I thought, you know what, I'll try and get it out there. And I think if something is your passion and you have that unrest that I felt with mine, I just decided, you know what, if it would kill me, I would get the board game out, you know, and I didn't care if it failed or not. Actually, I thought it was going to fail. So I was actually quite pleasantly surprised and when I say fail, it's like, you know, having it taken up by like mass markets and everyone, companies, parents, children, and whoever alike, all saying that it's great and it's really helping them and their children. And so I didn't think that would happen. Been a minority in the STEM industry, for example, you know, so maths, you would certainly find more men than women in that kind of industry. In the games industry as well, it's the same, you know, definitely Black people are the minority and certainly women are the minority. And everywhere I've kind of been all my life, from the time that I've been a programmer straight out of university till now, you know, a lot of the time I'm like either the only girl there or the only Black person there, or, you know, or any of that. So, you know, I think that if you're in that kind of situation, it's the confidence that you have in yourself, the self-confidence and the belief that you have in yourself that would push you forward to then bring out what you're trying to do and push your passion forward, and just do it is what I always say, because you just never know, your story might just be like mine. Just do it.
What was the reaction like once you did launch the game?
Oh wow. I found that a lot of people were saying, I mean, first of all, a lot of people couldn't believe that I created it. And I was actually just still speaking to somebody this afternoon who said, you know, so did you go to a big company and stuff like that who created it for it? I said, no, you know, I literally drew it at home on paper and stuff. And she said, no, I can't believe it. I was so sure that it was some big American huge company that you went to you know, create it for you. And I'm like, no, I just sort of created it. And I had a lot of reaction like that from a lot of people who, and even me, sometimes I step back and I think, oh wow, okay, like I can't believe that it was just something that I, you know, sat down at home and thought of how I could help those children love maths more, because I was trying to reduce mathematical anxiety. And because I made it my mission to turn maths into a game that every child would love to play, I felt that my mission was bigger than my fear. And once I started feeling that way, I started seeing the reaction from like everyone else, huge companies coming and partnering and endorsing, and, you know, tons and tons of awards, you know, interviews and you know, on big platforms and all that. So I was totally pleasantly amazed, but I'm not complaining. Love it.
You said something very powerful. Your mission is bigger than my fear. Really interesting statement. Lynette, how about you? What was it like for you when you first started your business?
I think for me, it was like Grace, was very much passion driven. So my upbringing and the kind of experiences of myself and the people who I grew up with in terms of my friends and my siblings influenced me to want to do better, to kind of cultivate the characteristics and the behaviours and the qualities that I know exist within our community, but we just don't always get the right opportunities to develop those skills or the right opportunities to apply those skills to more sustainable careers. So I was really passionate. So even when I was kind of developing my career. So I was a financial inclusion officer, and then I went into lecturing, but there was always that niggling feeling. And you know, as young, you have to just walk in your purpose. If it's constantly nagging you, there's no escaping it. So I started, and I thought I could do it all by myself. And that was a learning lesson. Like, no man is an island. Like, there's nothing that you can achieve and sustain by yourself. So that was a big learning lesson. And if any of my team are here, then they'll know that it's something I'm still learning. So just being able to kind of give up the baby and like delegate and just sharing that responsibility has been a learning curve. And also just the commitment, just being committed to the idea, because anyone knows who's in entrepreneurship, it's literally like a lot of ups and downs, and then you go really, really down, and then you might go peak sometimes and then all the way down again. So it's never kind of stable, the kind of trajectory. So it's just being committed through all of that and being vulnerable. So when you're going through all of that, don't go through it alone. So again, going back to no man being an island, whether it's your team, whether it's a family member, a friend, a partner, just being able to share, even if it's journaling, just being able to share your experiences and what you're going through. Because when you're a startup entrepreneur, you're the business as well as yourself. So there's no kind of escaping it. It's not like work when we can go there and then switch off at 5 p.m. Like, you're constantly in that mode, and it can be very overwhelming, and you take it more personal when you do have the L's, so like the losses. So it's really just the commitment and the teamwork, just knowing that you can't do it yourself, and that you're going to have hard times and you're going to have amazing times. So just, if you really are committed to the dream, then just stick it out. So yeah, that's really been my journey with entrepreneurship.
And you also mentor and teach people business as well. But one thing that I found interesting when we spoke previously is that you've used your past experience and also your upbringing to find another way to nurture talent and ideas. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I tend to ramble on about this because I get really passionate about it, but I try and keep it succinct. So just growing up, I grew up on an estate, and even to this day, if you Google the estate that I grew up on, it's Milford Towers, it's always been known for the wrong things. So whether that's drugs, whether that's murder, whether that's police kind of conflict and armed police situations on the estate. But for me, I remember it as a tight-knit community. I remember it as a community of hustlers, so to speak. Like, everyone was entrepreneurial. Everyone was trying to improve their circumstances, and again, trying to do it themselves, because we didn't have the support networks, we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the visibility or the capital. So everyone was trying to do it themselves, and it wasn't always sustainable. But that was instilled, like what we saw our elders doing, us, the younger people, started doing it. But then some of the younger people may have seen more success with people who weren't necessarily doing the right things. So say, for example, your mum might be trying to do, I remember there was one mother who was trying to do art classes every week and trying to take us on trips, and that was kind of a hit and miss thing. It depends on the weather, it depends if the children can be bothered, it depends if the parents will send them there. Whereas, say, for example, someone like a drug dealer, the demand is always there. No matter what the weather, the demand is always there. So when you see that kind of success, so to speak, and people are kind of building their income, and all you've ever seen on the estate is struggle, then I understand why you would think, do you know what, easy route, let me apply my characteristics, my behaviors, my skills to that. And I always felt like I was unfortunate, because when I did my master's, one of my degrees, I researched the informal economy, and I went back to the estate, I went back to the neighborhoods, and I was looking at people who either didn't have registered business or they had businesses which weren't legal. And I just had conversations with them about their motivations, their characteristics, and out of that, there's this thing called thematic analysis. So you pick out the themes, you pick out the codes. And I saw that everything that they were saying, their characteristics, their behaviors, their motivations, aligns with the entrepreneurs that we face today. So the Musks and the Zuckerbergs and the Bransons. And again, it was just because they weren't given the opportunities, and they didn't have the representation of people like them using those behaviors to build sustainable careers. Same thing in school, when they did try and do that. I remember I mentioned this before, there were a few of my friends who did the business studies class, and they learned about making profits. So they were like, okay, we're going to apply what the teachers taught us. So they went to the Sainsbury's, they bought donuts and sweets, and then sold it to us, their schoolmates, for a profit. The profit was probably like 10 or 20p, so nothing major. And they were all put on internal exclusion. And somebody else, a white boy in another school, a few years later, he was invited to a daily show for it, and he was put on the front page of newspapers because of it, and he was praised. I was saying he makes 50K a year, this entrepreneurial young man, for doing the same thing that my friends got excluded for, the same thing that my own younger brother got in trouble for a lot of the time. So that kind of, it's like a double whammy. You're either trying to do something positive and you get criminalized for it because you're in a majority Black school with majority white teachers, so there might be that barrier of understanding. Or on the other side, you might see people who look like you who are succeeding but being successful in illegal fields. So with LMU, I really wanted to provide the skills that we aren't necessarily taught in school. So things like the importance of nutrition and mindfulness in just kind of taking care of yourself and your productivity, and the importance of networking and personal branding and business pitching and personal finance and investing and saving, all those things that we don't learn in school, which are the skills that we need in adulthood. Especially now we're seeing that we need those skills a lot more as a result of the pandemic. So I wanted to teach young people that, but not teach them myself, because obviously I teach business management, so I could do it, but I thought it was important to have a representation of Black leaders in a variety of industries. So we have architects, we have actors, we have consultants, we have accountants, we have so many different people who come and mentor the young people, and they do guest speaking as well. Because it's not about saying you should go and be a Black architect like that Black architect. It's just planting that seed. Okay, that person who's working in investment banking, they've taught me about personal finance today. Either I'm going to go away and start saving, or even beyond that, I might decide to go and look into that field because I know that people like me can get into that field. So that is the more kind of subtle kind of influence that I want to have, just seeing themselves represented in different fields, but also learning the skills that they need for life. I know I said I was going to run, but I tried to keep it tight, but...
Share your knowledge with us. That's what this is about. You both mentioned some interesting things about representation. Now, we know that there's a lot less women entrepreneurs in terms, or even women entrepreneurs of colour, Black women entrepreneurs. And you've both navigated your fields and you're both leaders in your fields. What would you say needs to be done to encourage more women to take more leadership positions?
I think, you know, for in terms of the companies and organizations who have these positions and are putting them out there, I think that we, you know, Black women need to be called out. If those sort of adverts that they're putting out actually show that, you know, if they specifically talk about equal opportunities, or you know, something that makes it very obvious that they're looking out to balance the equation and balance it had to sound a bit massish, but, you know, balance the set of people in the organization, and especially in management positions, then Black women would know that they are asking for them and would have a bit more confidence to put themselves forward. Because I think that a lot of Black women actually don't bother applying for opportunities that they are suitable for and could apply for, because they don't even think that their CVs are going to get looked at anyway at all. You know, I was speaking to a head teacher the other day, and she said they don't have any Black teachers because they've never ever received a Black application. And that head teacher had been in that school for 13 years. They've never received any Black, or, you know, male or female. So I think that, you know, with the situation about how the system has generally been built and how it's looked like, I think what would encourage people, and especially Black women more, is to actually call them out in any sort of adverts that we're putting out there. You know, organizations always let people know how well they're doing. They put that information out there. They know how to use the media to pass on to people that they are looking for something or the other, or they are providing the service or the other, or they've been doing really well in this part of what they offer or another. So it's the same way that I think that organizations can do the same, to call out Black women and encourage more of them to step up to opportunities that they have in place, especially in management. Because when women join management committees, then they balance things out a little bit more. Women are empathetic, they're patient, they're nice and sweet. So I would say calling them out is the best way to approach that.
I agree. there's been like a knee-jerk reaction where we're seeing a lot of companies responding to the Black Lives Matter movement, and as a result of that, we have seen some of them take the step to say, okay, Comic Relief said we want BAME leaders, so that was wider than just Black people. But then there's those who are specifically saying we want to support Black women. So even just yesterday, there's an organisation called Girl Dream, and they gave me a grant recently as a result of COVID and its impacts on businesses. And they've had a partnership with Trustees United, so that's to get more women into board positions and senior positions. And then there's the Black VCs who say that we're going to seek Black people to invest in. So there's Impact Capital, there's 10 by 10 investment, there's Cornerstone Partners. So those ones are the kind of for us, by us ones. But then even in terms of the allies, like I sat on a panel like a month ago at the height of everything that was happening in the Black community. And after that panel, there were VCs that added me on LinkedIn, added me on Twitter and said, whenever you're ready, like we're here, we're ready to invest in you. So it's, again, taking that step to kind of seek us. They saw that there was going to be a panel of Black people in tech, and they went to go and join that panel and hear from us and understand our pain and understand our experiences. And on top of that, they said, you know what, we want to come and invest in you. We want to come and connect with you. So taking those steps, call us out, but also try and build those relationships from us. And again, put your money in your mouth. There's resourcing racial justice. That's another kind of for us, by us approach. So that's why I think it's really important for us, like Grace was saying, for us to be in senior positions and seek those kind of board positions and those decision-making positions, because once we're in those positions, when things like this happen, there's somebody who's defending us. There's somebody that's like, do you know what? Let's call for Black people. It was like, obviously I'm Ugandan, so there was a movie called Queen of Katwe. I know BBC did a documentary recently called Black Hollywood, or Being Black in Hollywood. And they mentioned that the reason that BBC even made that movie was because there was a Ugandan man in the room who really pushed it. He was like, we have to do this. But there was a lot of knockback before they actually got the kind of go ahead from Disney to make that movie. But it's so important for us to be in those rooms so that there's someone fighting our corner. And then when it happened, there was a lot of great response to that movie. It's the same thing in any field that you're in. That's why it's important to kind of have us in the Greater London Authority. It's important to have us as school governors. And you have Green Park, they're like a board companies that they specifically seek to recruit more diverse people to boards. And it's important to have those positions because we have to have influence. Without influence, again, we won't have that visibility, and it's important to know where people are.
I want to talk about imposter syndrome. So you've mentioned once you've talked a bit about getting into the room. Now, once you're in the room as well, sometimes people might have this imposter syndrome where apparently it's quite common with entrepreneurs, and even for those who haven't heard about the term, it's estimated that 70% of people suffer from it. Is this something that either of you have ever felt, where you've maybe been given an opportunity and you felt like, I don't deserve this, or just had these anxieties that you might not be ready or good enough yet when you really were?
Yeah, certainly. Lots and lots of times, you know, and it's, I mean, for example, when I was, I was in a governor on a school about 4.5 years ago, and I think about a year and a half after, they said, you know, go in for vice chair. And I'm like, no, I'm not a vice chair kind of person at all, or, you know, like, and they said, oh, we thought you think you'd make a good vice chair, and I was like, no, not, you know, not at all, definitely not. And that was all, you know, imposter syndrome, because I was like, yeah, but how would I like do all the things that need to be done as vice chair, and you have to take a position of responsibility? I'm just quite happy being a governor over here, like in my little corner, just doing normal things, you know. But once I was put forward, and you know, I was elected as vice chair, it was actually not bad at all. Actually, it was all kind of cool for a while, until a year later they're like, yeah, and then the chair resigned, and they're like, well, Grace, you're the chair. And I'm like, no, I'm not the chair. I'm not a chair kind of person either, you know. And that was again the imposter syndrome. And then the head teacher said to me, well, you know, actually the rules are that, you know, if a chair resigns, then the vice chair is the acting chair. So literally, I just became the acting chair overnight, which was actually quite upsetting for me because I was like, no, I'm not. As soon as a chair comes in, and I kept asking for, have you found a new chair yet? Or rather, have you found your chair yet? Because I'm not your chair, sort of thing, and after a while, eventually with lots of, oh no, we really need you and all that kind of stuff, then eventually I, took on the position of the permanent chair, and 2 years on I'm the chair still. But I would say that was the imposter syndrome. That's a very classic example of that. Meaning that I can't do the things that a chair would do, and what would I even be saying? And then I'd have to represent the school in different places and all that kind of stuff. But it's all been, how many years now going, and it kind of feels normal-ish. So I would say that the imposter syndrome definitely affected me many, many, many times. And I've given the example as well about the game when I launched the game, and me saying to myself and thinking to myself that who told you that you can create something that would be accepted, globally, and that people would actually think or feel that is actually helping and changing children's lives or families' lives, and that, again, that's all the imposter syndrome, because it turned out, for whatever reason, it's the exact opposite. So I would say those are classic examples, but there's so many more, and there's one actually still happening at the moment, and a big thing that I've been asked to, come on and be the forefront of, which is quite big. But again, I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm that kind of person, and again, and I'm telling myself now, actually, that's the imposter syndrome, so there are things that we have to fight as women going forward, and matching on and showing our children, I want my children to be able to step up to opportunities when they see them, and also feel that they can do it, and have that confidence. And although I'm very self-confident, because my parents I was raised, had a very happy childhood, and they really instilled a lot of confidence in me through mathematics, which spread to my overall confidence. But even then, there are still things that I think everyone always feels like, and as you said, listen, Marie, it's quite common in entrepreneurs. There are things that make you feel like, can I actually do that? And I think it's just something that we need to keep fighting and continuing to build our confidence on, and then feeling the fear and stepping up anyway.
Yeah, off the back of that, like Grace was saying, I still deal with it as well. And I'm aware of what it is now, so I guess that's progress, but it doesn't stop it happening. So say, for example, with uni, I went to a Russell Group uni. I didn't even know what a Russell Group uni was until I got there. People were like, oh, I went to a Russell Group. And then I got to a class when I was the only Black person there, and everyone else was a white Jew. So not even just white people, just specifically white Jews from wealthy backgrounds. So when I was confused in class, I was like, I don't want to ask questions and look like the dunce Black person. And instead of just asking for help, I kind of suffered in silence, and then that ended up impacting me. And then I remember in the third year, I had health issues, and I had to take some time out of uni to have an operation. And even then I was like, no, I felt like it was such a privilege for me to have even been in that union, in that class, and studying that degree. So now how can I kind of delay my degree? And I remember after the operation, I was supposed to take, I think 4 weeks, it was like recovery period. I went right back to uni, and I did my whole dissertation in like a week. And that's I don't recommend that to anyone. Like, I was surviving with a Pro Plus and Red Bull, like putting so much pressure on myself. On top of that, working 2 jobs, which probably contributed to my health issues. Working 2 jobs just so I can kind of afford like the maintenance of living in uni, as well as trying to find time to study, as well as dealing with the health issues, and doing all of that in silence. It was only when it got to the point that I needed the surgery that my housemates, my friends who were my housemates at the time, they were like, we need to call your parents, we need to take you to hospital, we need to do all of that. But it can be so detrimental to our physical health as well as our mental health, that imposter syndrome. So it is important to kind of speak up. And if you don't understand something, say it. Because just because you look different doesn't mean that your experiences are different. There might have been other people in that classroom who didn't have the foggiest either. So that's something that as a lecturer now, I really push, like literally every kind of 3 or 4 slides, I'm like, ask me questions. Not even does anyone have any questions, I'm like, ask me questions, because I know that somebody must have a question. I don't want them to go through that same kind of suffering in silence. Even with lecturing, becoming a lecturer, that I literally fell into that career. So I met somebody at a conference. I had won this UN time, it's Principles for Responsible Management and Education, writing competition. They invited me to a conference. Again, one of only 2 Black people there, but I was the only one that's kind of invited for an award. And this Asian man was like, this is incredible that you're here for this reason. And like, there's only 3 of us in this room who are BAME and you're being awarded for this. Like, I want to support you in any way possible. So he really kind of made an effort to step out and connect me. And then I went to a meeting with him and just made a comment about the Black experience of that meeting. And that led to me kind of getting a temporary, then a permanent contract. But that's something that I was 26 at the time. Like, I didn't ever envisage being a lecturer at 26. And then that also kind of led to me becoming a senior lecturer and the academic lead for the Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Committee. And even with that, I asked if I could research the Black attainment gap, because at the moment we have 53% of Black students graduating with a 2-1 and above, compared to 72% of white students. And this is despite us all going to uni at the same level. So we're all getting the same degrees at A levels. But then when we get to uni, something happens that creates a disparity. So I'm studying like the kind of causes and solutions of that. But I remember when I asked to do it, they were like, it's not really important right now. But then when it came to kind of creating this committee, they said, not only do we want you, but then we want to have a branch, which is a widening participation forum. We want you to chair that forum. And I didn't think that I was like, me chair what? Like, how could, you guys are all kind of senior academics to me. Like, you have a lot more experience. Why don't one of you chair it? But it was just kind of, I planted that seed without knowing that I was planting it when I made that request. And they saw that it's something that I'm not only experienced in, but passionate about. So I think, again, that's where allies are important. Like, we might not always go for those positions. So again, invite us for those positions. Even with being an entrepreneur, like, to this day, I'm like, wow, people really like believe in me. Like, I have a team, like 8 people who are committed to kind of helping me make this a reality with NME. And even when I get grants, sometimes I'm like, wow, you guys have never met me. Like, it's an online application, you've never met me, but you've said, okay, I'll give you how many thousands just because I believe in you. Like, even that, sometimes I'm just like, I don't believe it. And it's literally Black men and women who kind of reprimanded me and have told me, say what your title is. Because I used to just be like, yeah, I'm a lecturer and that's it. Like, they're like, say you're an entrepreneur, say you're a senior lecturer, say, like, own your titles. And they're the ones who also told me to go for my worth. So when that comes to negotiating financially, it's literally being reprimanded by Black men and women who don't know me, but they're annoyed that I'm kind of talking myself down. That's kind of told me, you know what, even though I feel uncomfortable giving myself titles, I feel uncomfortable negotiating, I'm going to go for it because it's not just for me, it's bigger than me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it definitely still exists, but I'm working through it.
You mentioned allies. How important is it to not only have women as allies, but also men who are supporting you in your journey?
Shall I go? For me, okay, cool. I've literally been I am a part of like a number of networks. So the World Money Group and YSYS and Stilo. There's so many kind of communities that I'm part of. Script Club, that's a book club, but it's like got like loads of a bunch of entrepreneurs. And in that, I've noticed that I'll just kind of randomly open my phone and see a Black man who's sharing an opportunity with me, or a Black man who's telling me that, oh, I spoke about you in this, or again, a Black man that reminded me because I kind of played myself down. And it's been really empowering because I've always had a lot of Black male friends. So I've never kind of felt like I don't have Black allies in that sense. But in the business sense, it's just really kind of, it helped, because I'm kind of on that kind of, I'm still on that fake it till you make it kind of trajectory. Like, when I go out, I show confidence, but inside I'm really like,
oh. That's interesting you said that. You're still on the fake it till you make it when, do you not think that you have made it?
Not quite, not like, you know, but you always want more, isn't it? And it's like, this is definitely a good place to be in, but it's not where I want to be right now. But when I look at the people that are uplifting me, it's literally equally men and women, Black men and women, and also a couple of allies from other races. I think they've definitely played an important role, especially when it comes to, because they've got the kind of bravado, so kind of teaching me that. So even though I literally feel like I'm faking it, like, at least I know how to fake it well. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and for me, it's the same. It's equally men and women, not even necessarily Black men and women, but just men and women, you know, of all races. yeah, even more white than black, actually, you know. So it's just, yeah, you know, men and women generally have definitely supported me through. The key people who sort of helped me to get to where I am, initially, I mean, the first bit to even like get my game finished was a white man from Virgin Startup, and he was my mentor, and he's still mentoring me. And some of the other key people as well that have helped me move forward, or supported me in creating other games, or helped me break barriers, have been men as well, and women. So it's both for me. So I think everyone has a role to play. That, you know, the men have the usual kind of look and, you know, how they sound and all that, and then women to have their own part to play in supporting others and men. So I think, you know, for all of us, it's both. It's both. Supports from both really helps to move us forward.
And Grace, your game, Race to Infinity, is really about getting more children excited about learning mathematics. What do you think can be done in schools to get more children not only more excited about mathematics, but more excited about choosing STEM careers? Because especially women, I think I read a figure from the UN that there's only 30% of women go or choose to do STEM careers. What advice, and tell us a bit about some of the work that you do to encourage people to get into those types of careers?
Okay. Yeah, you know, we certainly need a lot more women in STEM. I found that, and for STEM being, you know, science, technology, engineering, and maths is the basis of all of those. And I found that the reason that a lot of people shy away from it, especially, you know, women and girls, is because of mathematics. And what I found is that a lot of children, too many children, hate maths, don't believe they can get good at it, and they find it a boring chore. And a lot of them also don't know how to relate mathematics to real life. So they don't know why they're doing mathematics, and they don't have enough fun, creative ways to practice mathematics at home, usually because of how it's taught in many schools, very abstractly. But then that leads on to STEM. So when a child is suffering from what we call mathematical anxiety, which is a sort of emotion that makes them shy away from math, or feel worried about mathematics, about an exam coming up or a class coming up, they start having things like sweaty palms or lump in the throat, or they start feeling like they are suddenly not able to breathe, you know, heart palpitating and things like that. And that links directly to mathematical anxiety, which then means automatically when it's time to start choosing careers, so people who have mathematical anxiety start thinking, well, I can't go that direction, you know. But a lot of the careers that are going to also be showing up going forward, even more than ever, especially after the pandemic as well, it's going to be STEM based, and the best paying careers as well. I did when I wrote my book a couple of years ago, I did some research into the Wall Street Journal's article, and they did say there that they listed the top 10 careers, and they were all one way or another linked to mathematics. So I think supporting women, well, girls, to love maths more, which is what mine is for all children, you know. So I'm supporting children, and I'm helping parents on how to support their children with mathematics. And then I created the Race to Infinity game to do the same, and I'm creating other games to do the same, so that children are learning without realizing that they're learning. Because once we can sort out mathematics in children, and they can start feeling confident, it's about belief. It's about them not believing that they can do maths. I mean, in the UK, statistics show that up to half the adults in the UK have numeracy levels no greater than that of an 11-year-old. And it's costing the UK economy 20 billion, with a B, 20 billion pounds a year. So a lot of those adults will be parents, and women need to support their children to love maths, or even if they don't love maths, but at least get comfortable with maths and get confident with mathematics, because that links directly to STEM. And that's what I think that a lot of us can do as individuals to just support our children, you know, younger people coming behind us, to start to love maths more and find ways for them to enjoy maths more as well. And of course, in schools, you know, it would be also to governments as well, to support schools and train teachers on how to help children love maths and how to teach maths in a fun way. It's very key to make maths fun. And that way we'll start to get children and people into STEM more.
And you've also taken your game to Lagos in Nigeria, or different parts of Nigeria. How has it been received there?
Oh, wow. They absolutely love the Race to Infinity game in Lagos. And they are, you know, they feel very proud that a Nigerian person created a game like that that's helping children love maths more. And I feel very happy when I get there as well, every time I go there, because they've, you know, and a lot of people there who have been quite supportive. You know, some major organizations have been right behind me as well, supporting, and banks, you know, have partnered with me to buy the games for other children and to support children in schools as well, and even some government organizations. So it's been, you know, totally amazing over there. And I actually I really wanted to see whether the game could be made in Africa. And very recently, actually in Egypt, the game is actually being made in Egypt. So we definitely have we'll have a good number of games that are made by next year in Egypt, in Africa. So that's really great, you know, being able to give back and support Africa even more. And it's been really embraced there. Amazing.
And it was in Nigeria as well where you first were introduced to WIA.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So a lovely mentor of mine in Nigeria, Mrs. Aziz, asked me to come along with her to an event that WIA was having, Women in Africa Initiative. And when I went there, there was I met Hafsat, who's the president of WIA, and I met Jeffrey as well. And they were both there, you know, talking to us, and Ud, who started WIA, and they were talking about, you know, the passion on helping women in Africa. And I felt so, you know, I was really impressed by Ud as well, who is not African, but so passionate about helping women in Africa, you know, move forward and get more opportunities. And so it was an amazing meeting, and that's kind of led us to then, you know, meet up again in London with the lovely Henya as well, and Hafsat Abiola again, and Jeffrey on the internet, and then you guys as well, and you know, and now we're here, so encouraging other people.
And you're also involved in a coding program that WIA is planning on rolling out. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, oh, that's an amazing program. I mean, my heart always, I always feel flutters in my heart when I think about this, because, you know, I love programming just because by trade I'm a programmer, you know, a coder. So, and it does sound a bit geeky, and I am kind of a secret geek, but people don't know because I don't look like one. So I love programming. And we are having this opportunity then to go out to Kigali to actually create, because they're going to be looking after 30 girls in Kigali and learning and teaching them how to code. And yes, I've been involved in supporting WIA in this and choosing which programming languages that the children should learn, or the young girls should learn. And the whole idea of these girls then loving programming like I did. I mean, because I love maths, because when I was younger, my dad supported me to make maths fun. And I love maths going forward. That's why I went on to study computing in my bachelor's degree. And I ended up with a first class in computing. And it was simply because I loved maths and then programming from there, you know. So if you think about that basis of maths that I'm talking about still, you know, and that led me on to love programming. And from then on, when I then graduated, I had 5 different offers in investment banks. One of it was investment banks, and there were other very large ones like KPMG and others. And I had a hard time choosing, and I had so many opportunities to actually get a good job to start with and double some other people's salaries that I know about that were starting at the same time. And that's because I went that line. So when I think about these girls in Kigali having that opportunity to then learn programming, and then I know some of them, I just know it. Some of them are going to love it so much. They're going to go on and make that their career like I did. And that, for me, totally changed my life and will change their lives like forever. And if you think about that in Africa, in Uganda, some of the poorest areas in Uganda is where this project is going to take place. You know, it just makes my heart beat, and I just can't wait to see these beautiful girls learning programming. We're just going to be rolling together, like, yeah, they're like my people, you know.
And I've got a question, and I'll put this to you. Someone's posted it in the question and answer box. So if you do have any questions, please do write them, and I will put them to Lynette and Grace. So this question I've received is, do you have any advice for starting a new business as a Black woman?
Yeah, network, whether you're starting a business, whether you have the business already, like, I'm so big on networking. I think everything that I've achieved has been through my networks. Because again, we've been here talking about allies and about supporting each other and uplifting each other. That's all through building networks. Even through me becoming involved with WIA, that was through networking. So look on Eventbrite. It's now that everything's online, it's a lot easier. So if you know already what your business idea is, go on Eventbrite and see what events are happening that's related to your area. That way, participate in that webinar, participate in that conference, and connect with the people in that event. When there's the chat functions and the Q&As, make your presence known. When we're allowed to meet in person, then it'll be a lot more easier to connect in person. Well, we are kind of allowed, but I don't know if there'll be conferences and big events and stuff. But for the meantime, while the events are online, join onto all of them. Even if it's for like 10 minutes, half an hour, join onto all of them. The other thing is, when you join those networks, so I can put some in the chat box, but some of the best networks I'm a part of are literally, they kind of started from WhatsApp. So whether that's YS, whether that's the Bold Money Group and BYP network, those are all such amazing support networks. And it's better to do your market research, because I'm so big on market research, because we have amazing ideas sometimes, and it's like, when they don't kind of succeed, it's like, why didn't it happen? But it's like, who did you ask before you kind of fully invested in that idea? So use those networks to do your market research, try and find who your target audience is. So I don't know if people know about lean canvas models, but with those, you have to kind of break down, okay, what are your metrics? What is the problem? What is the solution? What is your USP? What's the advantage you have? And who is your customer segment? And what are going to be your revenue streams? So you can literally go online and do a lean canvas model. That will help you to kind of, I'm doing my lecturing thing now, that will help you to figure out who your customer segment is, and then go and seek them as well. Because if it's, say, for example, if it was doing a maths game, for example, for children, but then you only asked, I don't know, people who were like 25 and above, then that's not really effective market research. So first of all, do throw the idea around with networks that you make, but also do the market research with your customer segment. And the other thing that I would say is get an MVP. People do really like the idea. Get a minimum viable product. So don't go full-fledged into the full thing right now. So I know people, again, the kind of networks that I spoke about, they started out at WhatsApp. They got the reception, they got the community, and with that community, they kind of went online, or they went onto apps, or they went into events, and they already had that community without having to invest a lot of money into it. So yeah, network, market research, lean canvas model to get your customer segment, and fourth, I've forgotten already. The fourth one that I said was the MVP.
Mm-hmm. I've been sent one more question. It's, how much do you think the women entrepreneurs that are based in the diaspora can help or relate to their sisters in Africa?
Okay.
Oh,
Great.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No, go on.
Yeah. No. They can certainly relate to their sisters in Africa. We're like icon, you know, and you know, we're all still African. Our background is Africa, you know, so we're all still Africans at the end of the day. So definitely relate to our sisters 100%. And you know, we're all going through the same sort of things. We're all still women. The culture is still the culture, regardless where you live. You know, what's expected of you as a woman is still the same, and what the challenges we have to deal with is still the same. Kids and, you know, all of the other things, you know, having to multitask and all the normal challenges that women go through normally, it's still all the same. So definitely 100% relates to what you're all going through at any points in time.
And I'll add to that social media has made it so much easier to connect. Like, this kind of revolution that we've had with Black Lives Matter and protesting literally across the world, that started in it's not the first time it started, but like this time around it started in Minneapolis, and like we were able to connect with that. I'm going to be vulnerable here. Like, I cried, like, during that time when there was just more stuff coming out in the news. There was stuff happening in London, stuff happening in the US. Then there are things about people being raped on our continent. And all this news, it was just like constant bad news online that really connected with me and affected me, because it was people that look like me and it's my kinfolk. So we're a lot more connected now. So we can share each other's experiences, we can share each other's pains, and we can share each other's successes. So again, through networking, I've been able to go to a lot of conferences. So Oxford does the Oxford Africa Summit every year. Same with LSE, London School of Economics. They do an Africa Summit every year. And every time I go to that TEDx Houston as well, these are events that connect Africans from the continent and the diaspora every year. And through that, I've been able to build literally networks that have become like family to me. Like, I have literally a sister in Kenya and a sister in Somaliland. And I don't feel like those are just networks. Like, the bond between us is so strong. And that came about because I went to LSE. The keynote speaker there was a man from Senegal. Like, when we connected, he told me to come to an event that he was doing, because they're the body for the Gates Foundation in Senegal. And he literally introduced me. He made me get up in a trustee conference that they were having. And he was like, this is the future of Africa. And just because he endorsed me, that enabled people in the room to kind of give me a bit of credibility. So I was able to connect. And then someone from another organization was there. And she was like, oh, apply for this grant. We're doing scholarships to do community empowerment programs with people across the continent. But even though you're in the diaspora, you're Ugandan. So there was no kind of, oh, you're from the diaspora, so you're not us. Because I know sometimes we have that kind of barrier where some people feel like if we don't live on the continent, then we aren't truly African. But she wasn't presenting that barrier. So I was able to go back to Senegal, connect with the girls that I just mentioned, who I see as my sisters. They are on the continent every day fighting against FGM. Like, we know that it's such a big issue. One of them, she was, her family kind of abandoned her, or disowned her, because she ran away from her village when it came to the day before she was supposed to have the procedure done. And since then she's been campaigning. She's got an international platform now. And then I try to help her in all the ways that I can. My friend in Somaliland, I try to help in every way that they can, and they also support me. So now that we have social media, now that we have conferences that connect us all, there shouldn't be any barriers between us. And I think it's so important now that we're seeing these kind of revolutions, whether it's sexual assault against women and girls, or whether it's a Black Lives Matter movement, we're seeing that there's strength in numbers. So I think it's important that we kind of take away that kind of diaspora versus continent, and that we kind of see each other as one.
And I've got a question. This is for Lynette. Did you always want to be a businesswoman? When did you realise this path was meant for you? That's by Kim Nabwami.
Okay, so no. So that was actually, I feel like, you know, when I say that I mentioned before, seeds being planted, my mum, like that estate that I grew up on, like I said, everyone was hustling. Everyone was either kind of sending stuff back home so that it can be sold over there, so things like deodorant and pads, or they were doing the little events on the estate, or whatever they were doing, everyone was hustling. So I feel like entrepreneurship was all around me. And then being Ugandan, because I spend a lot of time on the continent, I've been able to go back a lot of times. Again, that, like, the continent is like the epitome of entrepreneurship. I absolutely love it. Like, everyone is hustling and everyone's kind of doing what they need to do to provide for themselves and for their families. Because, you know, on the continent, I was going to say in Uganda, but literally on the continent, you're not just providing for yourself. It's never just a me thing. It's a community. I'm doing for my household. I'm doing for my village. I'm doing for my area. So because of that, I think those seeds were being planted in me. So when I was in the financial inclusion office, where I was doing work which was meaningful to me, I just felt like my skills, my abilities, it wasn't being exercised as best it could. And like I mentioned in the beginning, this passion to help the younger people who look like me, and this passion to stop these cycles that I've seen over decades. Like, the people who are in school now shouldn't be experiencing the exact same things that I experienced when I was in school. People who are in uni should not be experiencing the exact same things. We should have had progress by now, and we haven't had that progress. So that kind of wanting to stop those cycles, and also seeing entrepreneurship all around me, whether it's on the estate, in my house, on the continent, I think all of that kind of came together and just made me go through it, because I'm naturally shy, I'm naturally introverted, but I felt like it was something that I wouldn't die at peace. Basically, I wouldn't die at peace if I hadn't at least tried.
Unfortunately, we've come to the end, and I feel like we've just started as well. So just before we do wrap up, I want to just ask both of you, what one piece of advice have you got to share with everyone that's tuned in and or who will listen in terms of either starting a business or running a business? Is there something, one piece or key that you can give to us, share with us?
Okay. Yeah, I think, the key thing, I would always say is, first of all, just start, not being a perfectionist, or trying not to be, because I am a perfectionist. I still am, so I always constantly have to remind myself not to be. And I think it's very key that to start a business, you have to know that everything doesn't have to be perfect. And even when you start it and you launch your business, you will always keep, improving things and all that. And when you are given opportunities to do things, you just take it up and go. I remember last year when the person who put me up for an award for the Royal Borough of Greenwich was a man, by the way, a white man, and he said, I think you've got a really good chance. And I didn't think that I did, but he said, go. And I was actually also quite surprised and quite shocked when I won the award for the whole borough. So I think with opportunities and with just starting with what you have, it's a very key thing to go ahead and just do that.
I agree, 100%. Again, I mentioned like MVPs and stuff, but also networking and traveling. I feel like those are the two things that have been very character building for me. So if you're from the diaspora, you might not necessarily have as much experience of the continent, and if you're subject to media and what you see in the news, you might not always get the true depiction of the beauty and the entrepreneurship and like just the progress that's happening on the continent. So travel if you can. If you're here or wherever you are, network. Again, do these online events, go to conferences when we're allowed to meet back in person, just connect with as many people as you can. It's not that something's going to come from every connection, but you'll have those one or two gems. Like I literally connected with Kenya in March just before lockdown, and then I'm here today. So you never know. Again, me being a lecturer, that's because of me networking. The community I built with LME is through networking. So network and travel as much as you can. And as an ally, just be conscious with your spending and mention people's names when they're not in the room. Don't just support us in our faces. Mention their names when they're not in the room, because you don't know how far that can go. And even when it comes to kind of us going and approaching people, connecting with people, we might find that, they might say, I've heard about you, or my friend mentioned you, or my colleague or my boss mentioned you. So yeah, that's more than one. Apologies. Yeah. Network, travel, and yeah, spend consciously and mention names.
Thank you so much, Lynette and Grace. Thank you so much for sharing your journeys with us. And thank you everyone for taking the time to actually tune into this webinar. And just to recap again, Women in Africa Initiative and what it's about. It's a platform and it's dedicated to the economic development and support of leading and high potential women. And you can sign up to any of our newsletters, go up onto the Women in Africa Initiative website, and you can find out all the information about what Women in Africa does and how you can get involved. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.